For those of you that may not know me, my name is Brad Williamson. I've been a resident in Brookfield come 19 years on Halloween. Yes, that was an appropriate night that we moved into the house that we have, considering its history. But anyway, I've got some very great concerns about the bidding process for the town plowing equipment. I don't have a problem bidding it. I don't have a problem disposing of it. I do have a problem in the process that's been used to bid the equipment out. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to attend the last couple of meetings due to other commitments. So my first exposure to this was the same as the general public, the ad in the newspaper. To start with, that has been one of the most generic ads I've ever seen. Also, let me say I did sit on the Board of Selectmen for 4 years, so I'm a little familiar with disposing of municipal property. Absolutely no details in it whatsoever. In my opinion, the ad could have been written more to discourage anybody interested, not to encourage anyone who may be interested in it. Usually when you sell something, it says large truck sander. What the heck is that? You look at any of the trade publications, you even look in the newspapers. It'll say one highway is a manufacturer of those spreads. One highway model 2020, stainless steel sander for sale, hydraulic controls, blah, blah, blah. And list that for every item. None of that was listed for any of these items. So there's nothing to encourage anybody to come and bid on the equipment. Selling the plow equipment off of the Ford 550, which, by the way, just a brief aside, as far as reward, and I wanted to let you know I'm in the process of filing a vandalism report for Wakefield PD. It appears that the hasp has been pried off the forestry shed. So I haven't had a chance to see if there's anything missing from in there or not. But I figured I'd at least follow the proper channels and let PD know on that, as well as you gentlemen. Now back to my concerns. Selling the plow gear off it, that's great. Who's going to remove it and whose cost? Are you just going to sell the plow gear and let somebody come in and take it off on their own? Who's going to take responsibility of any damages that occur to the truck? Is the town going to remove it? Are we going to be able to sell it for enough to cover the cost of the removal? Or are we just fooling ourselves on that one? Including removing of the plow equipment is the hydraulic pump, I'm assuming, under the hood. That's belt driven. That's, I believe, going to require a reattachment of the accessory pulley. I don't know who's going to take care of that. The forestry body is going to need to be removed to get the controls and cables and so forth out from underneath it. It's not an easy 1 hour job. It's going to be an extensive process. It's expensive to put it on. It's not going to be cheap to take it off. The things like the selling the yoke rate, that's great, no details on that. Generally, thank you, that's the word. You would give a condition as to reports the condition of the tines, like 75% of it, 50% of it totally dead. Again, what's going to encourage somebody to come and look at it and to bid for it. Hand tools, what's included in the hand tools? I know there's a generic pile of them out there, but does it include the compressor that's up on the wall? Or not include that? A couple of years ago, the town bought what's called a microblaster. As far as I know, the town still owns it. It's used for splitting rocks into smaller pieces so you can move them. The town paid somewhere between $1,200 and $1,600, as I recall, for that piece of equipment. As of last August, it hadn't been used yet. That was stored out in the barn. Is that part of the hand tools? I don't know. This is a question that I'm asking. None of this is in the newspaper. And that really bothers me. Something else that really bothers me is the anybody that would be interested in bidding it, the person they're supposed to contact, and this is no reference on Eddie, but Eddie is the contact. And why would you make the contact person for the details of all this equipment one of the potential primary bidders for the equipment? That just doesn't make sense. I mean, was there an intention between writing such a vague ad? I don't know.
Absolutely.
But that's a major concern of mine. And just overall, I think if the process goes forward the way it is, it's going to be very irresponsible of the board and an insult to the taxpayers of this town. You guys are very smart, intelligent people, and I just hate to see you make some foolish mistakes. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate your input. One of the things I would comment on in real estate, people read newspapers to eliminate properties. You frequently see a for sale by owner and he lists you everything about the property. And people don't call because they've eliminated it. So in marketing, you give them just enough to pique their interest so that they'll call and then they can get more details. I will be honest with you, if they call me and ask for details on these plows, I could not answer their questions. I don't know if, well, maybe Clifton can or Bill, but I couldn't answer the questions on these. The only person I had was Eddie, because he knew and can describe them and knows about how old they are. Yourself, maybe Doug, and that's probably it in this room right now.
A little more research as to the number of people in town might not have been a bad idea. As far as marketing goes, I understand what you're saying, Ernie, but this isn't the house, and I think in the real estate business too, you don't just put an ad in the paper that says house for sale. Waterfront property for sale, 1.4 acres, 1,500 feet of frontage. You give them some keys, you don't just say house for sale.
Just enough to get the phone to ring.
Which in this ad was not done.
Okay. Good. Clifton.
I'm guilty.
Well,
I didn't think it all the way to that aspect through, so
we did discuss it publicly.
We did discuss it.
Selectmen's meetings, and discussed the actual items.
But again, as I say, you're trying to sell the general public. I'm not sure how many people here would be interested in this equipment so as to attend the meeting and know the details of it.
I sure hope some of them are.
and we have in our minutes of past meetings stated very clearly that we reserve the right to refuse a bid if it's not an acceptable bid. I mean, if you're going to offer me $20 for the large sander, we don't have to accept it.
Did you also include payment terms? What are the payment terms?
No. Usually it's cash on the barrel head.
I see.
But you're right. Like I said, I'm guilty. I didn't think it all the way through this time.
I'll go under the bus too.
To me, in a perfect world, these questions would be answered before the process goes forward, but I also recognize this is not a perfect world.
Any other public input?
Has the board set in their mind the minimum bid that they would accept for this stuff? Do they have any idea?
We do. We were given approximate values. Again, these are estimates. They're old enough that it's very difficult to tell. As Brad indicated, some of these things are kind of old. And
But you do have a minimum at least.
Yeah.
But in fairness, and again, from what Brad said, Eddie's provided us the numbers, and I'm sure he researched them, and I'm sure they're fair. I'm not questioning you, Eddie, at all.
And that's why I told you to research.
That is correct, and you did say that.
And I'm always
somebody's going to question something that's there, but you did say that.
There's the sheet with the dollar values that we were led to believe they possibly would be worth.
And I'm always one to add 20% to anything anybody gives me anyway when I'm trying to sell it.
Standard markup.
Yep. Most bang for the buck for the town.
Mr. Nason, did you receive any phone calls?
Oh, I received a lot. Some general comments. I I don't honestly feel that this is all going out to the wide variety of general public, because the people that would use this equipment know exactly what a small sander is, and a large sander, and a plow. They know those things, and not one person who called me asked me what this stuff was. They wanted to know where they could view it. Hence, they could see the condition of it. And that is why the vandalism happened on the shed, because I've been after you folks to get me keys to that shed, so when somebody wanted to look at the plow gear, they could see it, so I simply popped it off. So that's me, so that'll save some paperwork. And, you know, I don't know what else to tell you, other than the people, not one person asked me what this stuff was used for, anything about it. They all knew what it was for. And they put in bids.
Eddie, I have to say I'm a little disappointed.
Me too.
You've known all the time that I've had to keep that building. And anytime you wanted access, you've called me up, and I've gladly come over on a moment's notice to unlock it for you. I have not received any calls in the last 2 weeks to open that building.
I went through the channels.
Eddie, you've
Brad.
always called me, you've never gone through the channels.
Okay.
You've always called me directly.
We know,
I'm disappointed.
we know who broke the house, but we know who's gonna get it fixed. And if I'd known he needed to get in, I knew that you had a key to that, obviously.
You did, because I've asked several times to get in there. One, it started back before the plow gear with the crack ceiling that is stored in the back of that building.
Okay, anyway, we're gonna move on unless there's other public comment. Now I gotta find my agenda.
Approval of the minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Approval of minutes.
No, you got it? We got it.
No, I got it.
Okay.
I got a million notes there besides. As we look at the minutes, you will see that there are a lot of corrections. This can be avoided. When she does her first draft of the minutes, if you see typos and things like that, immediately email her and tell her what you found. She will then correct the spelling and come up with a draft, which will then be posted on the 2 public places it's supposed to be, and we can avoid having, 12, 15 items of minor changes. Because it takes a lot of time, and B, this could have easily been corrected with just a quick email to her saying, hey, this, and this. It's not an I, it's a thee or something.
And we're checking out my email addresses. I don't recall receiving this, so we're checking that out. Maybe it was and I deleted, or maybe it's somehow not coming through. Sure, please.
Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
There's some things that need to be, in my mind, fixed or adjusted. I'm not trying to cause a problem there. Just need to be fixed. I asked our treasurer to look at it too, because one of the things that I caught, I flagged, and then I asked her to take a look at it. So I'll let you read what you're, while I'll go along here. We're reading on the section on the tax collector.
Page 2.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at you and I'm talking to, yeah, I'm all right. And on Diana's deposit of the TD Bank North in Wolfboro, New Hampshire, for which, instead of in which, for which a deposit was received. The checks were lost by the bank after the deposit was made. Now, were they lost or were they shredded becomes the question.
They were shredded by the bank automatically after 18 days. So I've kind of reworked the verbiage, and we can get you a copy, Jessica. Yes.
Okay.
Well, just for the record, what is that verbiage?
Oh,
Automatically, okay, here it is here. And what really caught my eye was that the bank removed the money out of the town's account. And I questioned whether that was ever the case. They just didn't.
they just never put
Put
it
it
in.
in.
They
I don't
never
know.
gave us credit.
Right.
That says it was removed out, so I think there's a difference there.
Okay, so you're deleting the line, the checks were lost by the bank after the deposit was made. After the bank deposited the money into the town's account, the checks were automatically shredded after